Yup, we're gonna drag that leg with that high knee. Yes? Who's ready? We're like, Monica, we stay. Ready, ready. Good job. So options again. Quick review. This will be a modified version. Otherwise, you're here. Slow and steady, 15 seconds. Control. Keep it up. Woo. We're at that finish line. This is our last set. Taking it home. Oh yeah. Slowing it down. One leg. Knee up. Big step out. Drag it in. Alternate. Knee up. Step out. Drag it in. Take your time. You don't even need equipment for this. Right? Keep it up. Yes. Woo. Creating that resistance, getting stronger. Dig those toes deep into the floor. Yes, last time. One more with those knee ups. That knee tuck. You can alternate. 15 seconds here. This is it. You got it. Come on. Arms up. Raise them. Woo. Core strength. Spine, back. Work it out. Last few. Slowing it down. Heels down. Knee up. Let's go. Drag those toes. You got it. Take your time. Woo! We're almost there. Looking good. You're almost there. Come on, come on. Focus. If you need to take that break, stick with it here. Last set each side. Finish off here. Good job. Nice and tall. March. Exhale. Release. You're going to round that back. Breathe and lengthen. Exhale. Palms face you. Pull away. Chin to chest. Nice work. Deep inhale up. Walk your feet out. Exhale. Make your way up. Nice and tall. Breathe and lengthen. You're going to drop to one side. Center. Lengthen. Reach, reach. Other side. Hold. Another great workout in the books. Let me know what you thought about today's workout. What would you like to see more or less of? Hips. Walk the legs, feet in. Rotate, full range. Let me know in the comment section. I'm more than happy to adjust to your fitness goals. Change directions when you're ready for just a few seconds. We'll stretch out our quads and finish right back into our chair. Center, inhale up. Now you can rock that balance challenge. Exhale, use your chair if you need assistance. Balancing legs for those toes, bend that knee. Knees together, push those hips forward. Bank your quads right here. Deep inhale, standing up nice and tall. Opening up that heart. Squeezing the back of those legs. Shake it out. Other side, same great stretch. Set up. Knees together. Balancing legs. Spread those toes, bend that knee. Push those hips forward. Squeeze the hamstrings. Make your quads. Yes. A moment of gratitude. Yes. Deep inhale. Exhale. Couple more. Take your time. Breathe in. Exhale. Nice and slow. Last one here. Breathe and lengthen. Good job. Carefully release. We're going to shake out those legs. Shake out those arms. Carefully have a seat. Nice and tall. Extend one leg. Exhale. Forward fold. Hamstring stretch. Like a ragdoll, slowly roll up. take that same leg. We're gonna go into our famous album pose. You're gonna cross it over and then strike a pose. I'm proud of you. Gently press on that thigh. You can lay back if you like. Deeper stretch, opening up here. Woo, that felt good. Release, opposite leg, you're gonna extend, yes? Exhale, reach for those toes, or as far as you can. Roll it up when you're ready. That same leg, cross it over. Album. Yeah. I'm so grateful that you showed up for yourself today. Open up. I can't wait to see you soon. Inhale up. Exhale, release. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.
Hey, buddy! Don't you know you should never leave a cooking pan unattended? And a working smoke detector can warn you of a fire. Like the one behind me. My hero!
Next time, listen to the ball. Have a smoke detector and a fire extinguisher that work.
How'd you know?
The ball called.
Hello everyone, I'm Natalia Bilbao, and here's what's happening in LA this week. Mayor Eric Garcetti and Council President Nuri Martinez were among the many city officials that jointly announced the finding of a study from the Los Angeles Department of Transportation. It's entitled Changing Lanes, a Gender Equity Transportation Study, and is the city's first effort to identify barriers and strategies to improve access to public transportation for women. The event posted quite a lineup. Check this out.
We can't see where our public transit falls short in meeting riders' needs if we don't understand what those needs are, which is why today is so important. You can't manage what you don't measure. Or said another way, if you're not looking for it, you won't see it.
That is why the Department of Transportation's Gender Equity and Transportation Study is so important. Because in the neighborhoods that I represent, walking to your destination is not always an option for you. They must rely on public transportation. We're the ones carrying the bags of groceries, riding with our children, and running errands, and that's just during the day.
If you have a 9-to-5 white-collar job, the system works for you. But it doesn't work for you if you have small children with you and bags to carry, and if you don't have the funds available to access all of the transit options that wealthier folks have.
What was really well documented in the Changing Lanes report, it is the BIPOC community, my community, that is most impacted and can benefit from transportation when it's done right.
Better bus stops, better lighting, better times, better access, better routes. For me, for the community of Watts, for us mothers, it'll open up doors for us and our children.
LA DOT's Changing Lanes study puts women at the very forefront. We have to make these kinds of investments if we hope to build infrastructure that is truly equitable and gender-free. As the new chair of the Metro Board of Directors, my top priority this year is to make Metro better.
It's our responsibility to do better, to take care of everyone, particularly our most vulnerable populations.
Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson helped open a new supportive housing project in Council District 8. The council member announced his partnership with the organizations Flyaway Homes and the people concerned more than a year ago. And the fruits of that collaboration are now ready for residents.
Today we're at Flyaway Homes. We're opening up over a dozen new units right here on 82nd and Hoover in the community. This is a place that used to house a single-family residence, and now we can move multiple families into this space and get people off the street.
Each unit here is made up of 3 containers that have been converted into a unit. So they're standard shipping containers, single-use or non-use containers that have been converted here. Our future projects will be a combination of wood and/or steel modules, which will be custom built in the factory.
Every individual tenant here will have a lease. These are 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartments. And so every family who lives here, this will be a permanent home for them.
Entonces los servicios que conectamos a personas, a diferentes médicos, también conectamos a las personas a diferentes oportunidades dentro de la comunidad para que se sientan más cómodos.
I became homeless probably 4 years ago. Circumstances, you know, anywhere from losing a job to relate my relationship. What this place means to me just tells people that you have hope, you know.
There are hundreds, even thousands of people working hard every day, from the folks who go out to encampments every morning to try to get people into housing as housing is available, to the folks here at Flyaway Homes or who are plugging away, who got this done during the pandemic. And so I think Angelenos ought to know that their neighbors are out there pushing as hard as they can to end the crisis that we have with homelessness in our city.
The Los Angeles Convention Center is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and in recognition of this cherished LA landmark's birthday, Mayor Eric Garcetti dropped by for a tour of the event currently gracing its hallowed halls, the 2021 LA Art Show.
Welcome to the 50th anniversary celebration of the Los Angeles Convention Center.
We're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Los Angeles Convention Center. And the second thing is we're celebrating the opening of our first large-scale event, the LA Art Show.
The fact that this building has been here for 50 years is a real testament to the department, the great folks that put on events and conventions for the past 50 years, and we thought it was important to celebrate that.
Me encantaba trabajar aquí, por eso quedé aquí por muchos años. Era como una familia.
The Convention Center really serves as the economic driver for the downtown and even spills out over past downtown, because what we do is we bring in visitors from out of town who come here and they spend dollars here in the city. So they come, they spend their money, and they go home.
In fact, in 2019, this industry generated $23.6 billion in business sales here in Los Angeles and supported over 100,000 jobs. That's what this building has helped create.
We're excited to have the art show back. It's a beautiful event. Their exhibitors are excited to show their art, and we're happy to have them here. It's contemporary art and very exciting. They've got some cutting-edge things that they're showcasing in their shows. And the mayor's going to be here.
See, this convention center and I both celebrated 50th birthdays this year. 1971, when I think about how this city has changed since I was born here, this center laid the groundwork for jobs and careers and families and stories, the way that that's changed our city and changed our world. Thank you all so much, and let's celebrate the next 5 decades.
A small pocket of Chinatown just got a little more charming. Councilmember Gil Cedillo and LA City engineer Gary Lee Moore helped cut the ribbon at the Ord and Yale Park expansion, one of LA's newest city pocket parks.
Welcome to the new opening of the Ord and Yale Street Park. Almost 40,000 square feet. So we hope you all enjoy this new park for Los Angeles.
While it might be small for some in size, it is very big in character and in heart.
Tengo mucho orgullo que estoy aquí mañana. Es un proyecto, trabajan 10 años. Es un proyecto de muy personal para mí y también por mi distrito. Here, a few feet away from here, 150 years ago, Chinese men were lynched here in Los Angeles. And so we think it's important that people's history is remembered, but that we look forward with determination and optimism, and that we build community and we respect other people's communities and embrace that diversity as a strength and an asset of this city and of this district.
Through the years, this community has not only felt the pain of discrimination and exclusion, but the pride of perseverance and success.
It is so challenging to find the funding for all these projects that we want to do. It's about partnerships. The city, the county, the state, all working together.
So it's incredible to see so many young people here, so many children of this community now have a place where they can come play.
Since the beginning of the pandemic, St. John's Well Child and Family Center has been at the forefront of bringing medical services to lower-income communities. And recently, the organization held a community vaccination event to highlight a new campaign aiming to encourage South LA residents to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Here's that story.
There's a lot of concern about the Delta variant and the increased numbers we're seeing of infections. 84% of cases right now are Delta variant. It's twice as contagious as the previous dominant strain, which was the Alpha variant. So with the Alpha variant, if you caught COVID, you could infect 3 to 4 people. With the Delta variant, if you catch COVID, you could infect 8 to 9 people. So it's literally twice as contagious as the previous variant. A lot of the cases that are happening are actually people that are not vaccinated, that are ending up in the hospital. And so our hope is that people will start taking it serious. We've been walking this neighborhood for the last 2.5 weeks. We engaged 31 businesses. We also had a team of outreach workers that has been going out since early this week.
Pues los invito a que vengan, ya que no es muy complicado a la hora de no tener algún documento, y pues les recomiendo de que puedan venir a esta instalación para ponerse la inyección, que es muy importante para todos nosotros.
We're urging people that can get vaccinated to get vaccinated, and people that cannot get vaccinated to continue wearing a mask to avoid contagion. They could call our hotline, 877-612-8299, and schedule an appointment at any of our clinics. We have 18 brick and mortar clinics that are actually administering vaccines. Hopefully people will get vaccinated.
City leaders pushed vaccinations to combat the Delta variant. New bus shelters are being displayed throughout Los Angeles, and Mayor Garcetti signs a new ordinance restricting homeless encampments. These stories up next on City Beat.
In an effort to stop the spread of the COVID-19 Delta variant, Mayor Eric Garcetti and Council President Nury Martinez held a special press conference urging Angelenos to get vaccinated. The number of COVID cases in July rose sharply, and hospitalizations were the highest they've been since February of this year. The Delta variant is now the dominant strain of COVID in Los Angeles and spreads approximately twice as easily as the original virus. To get more information on vaccinations, you can visit coronavirus.lacity.org. The Los Angeles Bureau of Street Services, also known as Streets LA, offer the general public an opportunity to experience and give feedback on the proposed new bus shelters. Demonstrations were made available to Angelenos in 6 different regions of Los Angeles. The demonstrations come in conjunction with preparations to implement a new and updated sidewalk and transit amenities program, currently known as STAP, to provide shelter, shade, safety, and comfort to transit riders and pedestrians while incorporating smart technology to provide timely information to travelers. To find out more about STAP, visit streetsla.lacity.org. Mayor Eric Garcetti signed a sweeping ordinance to restrict homeless encampments. The mayor approved the ordinance one day after the city council voted 13-2 to pass the new law. This action modifies the city's current anti-camping law to prohibit sitting, sleeping, lying, storing personal property, or otherwise obstructing the public right-of-way in several areas of the city. The new law will also protect right-of-way within 500 feet of areas deemed as sensitive facilities, schools, daycare facilities, parks, and libraries. The ordinance will go into effect August 28th.
When it comes to workplace violence, there are many factors that can be the trigger. Stress, fractions between coworkers that escalate, or disgruntled customers, to name a few. But most experts agree that companies that recognize the potential for workplace violence are the ones best positioned to prevent it. Maria Hallbrown sits down with medical experts Dr. Laura Kokinda and Dr. Maura Kane to discuss workplace violence and what you should do when you see warning signs.
Well, OSHA has reported that workplace violence incidents have actually tripled in the last decade. What does that mean? What can we do, and what should we be looking for? Well, I'm delighted to be joined by experts today that can help us with all of those questions. I think the most important thing to do, first off, is to define workplace violence. I mean, where that line is and what the different types are when you are feeling as if there's some threat within the workplace.
So it's a little bit of a complicated definition when you look at it. Generally, the official definition is a threat or actually any sort of assaultive behavior, but also a series of behaviors can indicate workplace violence. So if you have obviously an assault or a threat of an assault or series of behaviors of inappropriate behavior or harassment, things like that, that constitutes the threat part, but it also has to have a nexus to the workplace.
What are some of the indicators? Somebody is constantly angry, somebody is always complaining, what are some of the things we should be looking for directly and indirectly?
All of those things can be indicators. I think one thing that I've noticed is if someone really stands out from the group, maybe they're complaining more, or maybe they're withdrawing quite a bit. That's another thing that could be concerning, or behavioral changes that are observable, or someone's setting themselves apart. Maybe they're more isolative, maybe they're a little more erratic in their behavior.
Yeah, anytime there's a change in behavior, because all of us are different. So we have the people that are withdrawn by nature, or the people that are complainers by nature. But when you see a change in their behavior, so they're withdrawn and now they're loud and they're irritable. And so anytime there's a change in behavior, you want to ask why.
I think one of the best things for de-escalation is to just try to separate, take a timeout. Time is really helpful.
Recompose yourself and walk away will do wonders.
The LA Education Recovery Fund, Los Angeles Unified, the LA Sports Council, and the Rams are just a few of the organizations that have band together to bring some sports, fun, and excitement to LA kids. Channel 35 was on hand to get an up-close look at how outside sports can lead to health and opportunity for SoCal kids.
LA Unified decided for the first time ever to open up every single one of its Title I elementary and middle schools.
Students now have access to free summer programs in their neighborhoods. Through this groundbreaking partnership, our students not only receive a clinic and sports team appearances, but they also know through programs like this that we as a community are behind them 100%.
The academic recovery is crucial, full stop. But our kids have also been robbed of a year of their childhood, and that's just as important to compensate for, if not more.
People want to help right now, and the LA Education Recovery Fund said we got to do it together. So we reached out to the school district, and LA Unified decided to run summer camps all over the city. And then we said, but we can do more. Let's bring awesome programming to our kids. And we talked to LA Sports Council and said, can we get our teams to step up in a big way? And the Rams said yes, and the Dodgers said yes, and the Galaxy said yes, and the Chargers said yes, and the Kings said yes. And it just shows Angelinos coming together for our kids and helping our kids at this time where they need us to step up for them to get ready to thrive for the future.
So we're excited to host this clinic, to support our youth, to teach them some football skills. Our cheerleaders are going to teach them how to dance, and together we're all going to come together because we're better when we stand as one.
Thank you for enriching the lives of our students.
We know that they are our future, and we see in them just the promise of what their languages, their histories, their trajectories have to offer for our city, and always do and always have. And so enriching their summer in this way, I think, really adds to their experiences.
Ahora estamos en una etapa de reentrar a un normal nuevo, y necesitamos de proveer a los estudiantes muchas oportunidades que ellos puedan estar trabajando y colaborando con otros niños. Y lo que está pasando aquí con esta colaboración.
Me gusta estar y hablar con mis compañeros, y estoy muy feliz cuando hablo con ellos. Ahorita estamos aprendiendo a jugar fútbol americano y muchas otras cosas que le encantan a los niños.
LAeducationrecoveryfund.org. Go there, find out how to get involved. Our kids need all of us to step up right now. It was a tough yesterday, but it's a bright tomorrow, and we can do big for them if we step up for them. And they always, always respond when we do step up for them.
Speaking of LA's kids, Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas recently brought families of Leimert Park together for an open-air screening of Space Jam: A New Legacy. The event was also a chance for local small businesses to connect with and support the community at large.
Well, this is a continuing effort to activate and elevate the Leimert Park Plaza, family-friendly, and what better way to celebrate art and culture here in this community than to invite the community to participate in a screening of Space Jam 2. And so we activated this park on Juneteenth. And we continue to say that good things are happening, music, fun, art festival, all of that right here in the Leimert Park Village, and it's a good thing.
Events like this are important for the community, especially now because we have not had the opportunity to get together, to see our neighbors, to feel part of the community. The park has been closed for a while. There are a lot of new people who are in the neighborhood, in the business community, and this is an opportunity for us to see each other, to get to know each other, to do something that's family-oriented and fun at a time where we need it, to celebrate the summer and to really just show what we have to offer as a community.
Right here in the Leimert Park Plaza, we have had vaccinations, and we will have more opportunities for that. If you aren't vaccinated, our message to you is to get your vaccine. Don't give away your shot. We don't want to cause others to be sick. Well over a couple of hundred people tonight just enjoying the outdoors, and that's what community is. When we speak of community, we think of the arts, we think about culture, we think about all of the small businesses and the vendors in this space, the merchants that are essentially trying to do what needs to be done to celebrate the community in a proper way.
Attention, pet owners. Summertime may be all fun and games for us humans, but it could also be a dangerous and unhealthy season for your animals. LA Animal Services dropped by the Channel 35 studio to offer some handy advice when it comes to helping your furry family members beat the summer heat. Take a look.
During the hot summer months, the best time to take your dog for a walk is in the morning when it's cool or at night after the sun's gone. If it's too hot outside, your dog's paws can get burned, they can get heat stroke. It's better just to wait until it's safer to take them outside. To tell if your pet has been dehydrated or is overheating, they will be breathing heavily, they'll be acting distressed, they may have trouble swallowing water. What you can do when your pet may be overheating or dehydrated is first try to give them some water. If they're unable to drink it, you can apply wet towels or ice packs wrapped in towels back of their head, between their back legs, and after you've cooled them down a little bit, take them to the veterinarian immediately. Some of the biggest misconceptions about pets in the summer heat are that you can just leave them outside and they'll be fine, or that you can leave them in the car with the window cracked and they'll be okay. That's also not safe. The car can heat up drastically while they're in there, even with the window cracked. To learn more about different safety tips and different animal services that we provide, you can visit laanimalservices.com. Just use your best judgment, follow our safety tips, and if it's too hot for you, it's definitely too hot for them.
Mother Teresa was once quoted as saying, "The simple path, silence is prayer. Prayer is faith. Faith is love. Love is service. The fruit of service is peace." That small prayer is a fitting introduction to our featured story this week. Channel 35's Maria Hall-Brown has an intimate conversation with Los Angeles Police Chief Michael Moore, who shares the personal burdens and professional challenges of leading LA's 21st century police force.
Well, almost 9,500 sworn personnel, almost 3,000 civilian personnel, and the man at the helm for the last 3 years has been Chief Michael Moore. It's so nice to be in your office.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here, and it's a great opportunity.
What are some of the changes that have happened since you've been at the helm, and what are some of the things that you walked into and you realized these are good foundational things that we need to keep in place?
We're in good shape. I inherited a department that was reform-minded. It was referenced in the then President Obama's 21st century policing reforms, and the pillars that were there, showcased what LAPD was doing for building trust in communities, for community engagement, for being problem solvers, but recognizing that we have a shared responsibility for public safety, and that also on the enforcement, that it was smart, that it was focused, it was data informed. So that's what I inherited. So we set on a course of continued reform and continued work to lessen the instances of use of force, particularly deadly force, to improve our efforts of dealing with persons experiencing mental illness, to really be a part of the solution for persons experiencing homelessness, both for providing them services and support, but also improving the safety and the sense of safety of communities in which these homeless encampments and persons who are living in public places that they're wrestling with.
Can't be easy to be an officer.
It is. This is one of the most difficult periods of time. It's unfair. It's not right to hear people express hate and just tremendous anger, and to center it on individuals, to center it on a profession of service, deeply disturbing. So this is brand new ground, and we've seen the calls to our psychologists and our peer support, our clergy, go through the roof. And it sets the stage for who's coming to, how fertile is the ground for people to come to this profession. It signals that, this is not an automatic that people want to be cops, that they want to get into this turmoil and face a very turbulent existence, and to be criticized and to have their families criticized and to have their families face open ridicule in public places, in schools, and in churches, and in houses of worship, and other places. So with that, though, we've got to take a step back and take a deep breath and build with them, that remind them of why they chose this profession. Remind them of why it matters. There are 4 million people in the city, and they depend on this department. We're an organization committed to the people of the city, and we're going to show them why this is the greatest department in American policing. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, Chief Moore.
Absolutely.
The LA Public Library brings the Mosquito SWAT Lab to kids of all ages. Enjoy the virtual experience of the 2021 Nisei Week Japanese Festival, or stream along with a great discussion as actress Jane Russell's legacy turns 100. All this and more up next on Things to Do.
The Granada Hills Branch Library would like to invite kids of all ages to the Mosquito SWAT Lab. Using problem-solving and scientific reasoning skills, students will explore the complexity of the mosquito anatomy, life, and disease transmission cycles. Through stimulating hands-on curriculum, students will dive into the amazing world of the most deadly animal on the planet. Don't miss a virtual mosquito program for all ages, happening Thursday, August 12th, beginning at 3 p.m. To participate, email grnhls@lapl.org for the program link. Join LA's vibrant Japanese community for the 2021 Nisei Week Japanese Festival. This year, the festival will be a virtual experience featuring a mix of live streaming and pre-recorded segments. This year's theme is Ibasho, which is a Japanese word that means a place to belong. Join online for the announcement of the Nisei Week Queen and Court, as well as live performances and oban dancing. Check out the Nisei Week virtual experience Saturday, August 14th at 3 p.m. For more information, visit niseiweek.org. The LA Made Cultural Series for the Los Angeles Public Library brings you the Jane Russell 100-Year Centennial. Join Christina Rice, Senior Librarian of the LAPL Photo Collection, for a discussion on her newly published biography on Jane Russell entitled Mean, Moody, Magnificent, Jane Russell and the Marketing of a Hollywood Legend. LA Made's Jane Russell 100-Year Centennial premieres Thursday, August 12th, beginning at 4 p.m. For more information, visit lapl.org/events. And that's a look at some virtual things to do.
And that's it for this edition. I am Natalia Bilbao, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacitywiew.org, and we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.
Good morning and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. Today is Wednesday, August 11th. I'm Nuri Martinez, the President of the City Council. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield. Blumenfield.
Blumenfield present.
Bonin.
Bonin present.
Buscaino. Absent. Cedillo. Absent. De Leon.
Here.
Harris Dawson. Harris Dawson.
Present.
Koretz.
Present.
Krikorian.
Here.
Lee. Absent. Martinez. O'Farrell.
Present.
Price.
Present.
Rahman.
Here.
Ridley Thomas. Rodriguez. Absent. 11 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Okay, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes of August 10th, 2021.
Mr. Koretz moves and Mr. Ridley Thomas seconds next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Blumenfield moves and Mr. Bonin seconds next.
Madam President, would council like all items to go forthwith today?
Without objection, that would be the order. Next.
There has been a request to hold item 19 on the desk.
Okay, without objection.
Item number 1 is an item notice for public hearing. Items 2 through 14 are items for which public hearings have been held. The Budget and Finance Committee report for item 2 has been submitted and posted to council file number 21-0117. Items 15 through 21 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are now before us, members. Does anybody wish to call any of the items special? Mr. Bonin?
21, just for some brief comments.
Item 21 special for Mr. Bonin. Any others? Mr. De Leon?
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. File item number 13, please.
For comment, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Any others, members? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, which are the available items for us to vote on?
Council may now vote on items 2 through 12 and item 14.
Okay, let's go ahead and open the roll on those items. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes. And for
Okay.
the record, the ordinance for item 14 will be held over for a second reading to
Okay.
August 18th.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, there is an amendment for item 19. Can you go ahead and read that into the record?
Yes, Madam President. So for item 19, it's an amendment presented by you, and it provides that the item should be amended to include the following additional recommendations. So recommendation 5, instruct the chief legislative analyst working with the Economic Workforce and Development Department and the city attorney to solicit input from businesses, business organizations, and council offices on the types of public spaces that should be included in the draft ordinance. And 6, instruct the chief legislative analyst working with the Community Investment for Families Department and the city attorney to solicit input from parents, parent groups, teachers, pediatricians, and nonprofit organizations / businesses that deliver child care services, and incorporate in the draft ordinance how best to protect children under 12 years and younger, given that this age group remains ineligible to receive a vaccine.
Okay, there's a second by Mr. O'Farrell. Can you confirm that, sir? Mr. O'Farrell? Second, along with Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump into public comment. Madam Clerk? As indicated on the agenda, members of the public wishing to offer public comment should call 669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-535-8466, and then press pound. Then press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak. When it is your turn to speak, an automated Zoom message will ask you to press *6 to unmute. Let me repeat, call 669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-535-8466, and then press pound. Then press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak. When it is your turn to speak, an automated Zoom message will ask you to press *6 to unmute. Thank you.
To members of the public calling in, when it's your turn to speak, please state which of the agenda items you'd like to speak on. You have 1 minute per item to speak, up to 3 minutes total. And if you wish, 1 minute for general public comment. Please speak to the items before beginning general public comment. We'll tell you when your time's up. When speaking on the agenda items, you must be on topic. Our goal is to get through as many speakers as we can. If you're not on topic, or if we can't tell whether you're on topic, you'll get one brief warning from me or the president. At that point, if you don't immediately get clearly on topic or again stray off topic, you'll be cut off and you'll forfeit the rest of your speaking time, and we'll move on to the next speaker. We'll take 30 minutes total of public comment. The items that are open for public comment are items 1 and 15 to 21. That's 1 and 15 to 21. Item 22 is in the special meeting, which will be addressed later. If you want to talk about it in general public comment, you're free, but not as an item. For members of the public calling in to speak, as the clerk just said, we have a slightly new system where when it's your turn, an automated voice from Zoom will prompt you to press *6 to unmute yourself. If you don't do so, council staff will prompt you once more. At that point, if you don't immediately unmute yourself, you'll forfeit your time to speak, and we'll move on to the next speaker. Finally, if you're also listening to the council meeting on your computer, channel 35, or other device, please turn down the volume on those devices right away when it's your turn to speak. Because of possible feedback and a time delay between the live meeting and the broadcast, it causes a lot of confusion if you continue to listen on your other devices. And with that, Madam President, we are ready to begin public comment.
Okay, let's go ahead and take the first call.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
I'd like to speak on all available items and general public comment, please.
Sure. So you have 3 minutes for items 1 and 15 to 21, followed by a minute for general public comment. Please begin, Speaker.
Thank you, sir. To Chief Moore and his PSA, the George Floyd experience is nothing new in the Black community. LAPD is still the most murderous police department in the country, thanks to our so-called representatives, Black community representatives. Number 15, 16, $50,000 rewards. What we could do to solve a lot of this violence is people having opportunity. Just the opposite of this corrupt city council giving Marquise Dawson over $5 million to take over the community, the Black community's unemployment office. Just the opposite of opportunity. That's what this council does. The DO in his PSA said respect for other communities. Is that respect for the Black community? That's destruction.
Speaker, I think
I'm talking about the reward for item number 15 and 16. It's related. Now, item number 18, sir. Levying a tax on a portion of principal and interest for Prop HHH bonds. What tax? You're going to tax the people more? Am I reading this wrong? It says in 2 places in this motion, levying a tax for money that you have already stolen from the people of the city of Los Angeles with HHH, building units for $500,000 to $700,000 per unit. D. Leon yesterday talking about we're going to build 25,000 units. You all voted for it. What are you talking about? This is insanity. Where has that money gone? You've looted it and given it all to developers or your campaign contributions. Airbnb alone has 35,000 short-term rental units. They've evicted people so they could rent their places out. There are tens of thousands of luxury units on the market, but they keep them off the market to keep the prices high, supply low. You people know that. But these people are in bed with, they are put there for big business, not us. More theft from the HHH bonds, levying more tax on who? Who? The people.
And you can go into general if you wish, Speaker.
Looters. These people sitting there are looters and nothing more. We have 60,000 homeless people on the street because of these people's policies. Insanity. Laughingstock of the entire planet. Dawson gets on Channel 35. What a joke. Bragging about 12 units. Ridley Thomas wants to be your mayor. He's abusing people in Lamert Park, the black farmers market vendors, making it impossible for them to operate. This guy wants to be a mayor. We might as well elect Donald Trump to mayor. This guy's been pimping the black community for 30 years. These are criminals. This is the problem with the black community. No representation. That's what we have. No representation. And everybody is paying for it.
Thank you, Speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, yes, my name is Giancarlo Rubio, and I'm speaking on item 19 in general public comment.
Please begin. You have a minute for each.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Giancarlo Rubio with the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, otherwise known as VICA. VICA supports the council's intentions to protect our communities, businesses, essential workers, and residents by instituting a uniform mandate, such as the indoor vaccine requirement proposed. The business community has been severely affected by the COVID-19 crisis, forced to implement costly safety measures, furlough employees, and even completely cease operations. Unfortunately, while the government has reiterated businesses' ability to enforce vaccinations, the potential liabilities for enforcement are currently far too high to be feasible. Many businesses are unable to enforce vaccinations due to a fear of costly litigation or lost business. The business community would like to avoid this piecemeal approach that leaves businesses competing, and instead, we urge the city to codify universal measures that reduce the spread of COVID-19, standardize enforcement, and remove legal barriers for businesses. Our economy cannot afford another shutdown. Our businesses would suffer the effects of limited customer flow and modified business operations. The city can protect our communities, jobs, and businesses through universal vaccination requirements without imposing capacity requirements or shutdowns VICA supports. For these reasons, VICA urges the city to protect our businesses from liability and protect our communities from the threat of COVID-19 by standardizing vaccination requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Andrea Jimenez, general public comment.
Sure, you have 1 minute. Please begin.
Quite frankly, all city council members in the city deserve to get recalled for their inability to see the consequences of a poorly written moratorium and the lack of support once written. Your actions have kept multiple homeowners homeless. Some of these homeless homeowners have families with small children and are disabled veterans suffering for combat-related disabilities. My family and I are advocating for a carve-out for owner-occupy in the city of LA under its eviction moratorium. This is to allow homeless homeowners like myself who have been unable to live in their own homes since March 2020 to be able to recover and reside in their own homes. Write a draft, do a carve-out for owner-occupy. Cedillo, De Leon, start a motion, do something. And you should also allow for in-person public comments. Have the balls to look into the eyes of those you're screwing over. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Elizabeth Elliott, 19, and general comment, please.
You have a minute for each. Please begin, Speaker.
I oppose. I'm not in favor of file 21-0878. This ordinance is discriminatory and a form of segregation to forbid unvaccinated people from entering an indoor space, such as a restaurant, fitness center, retail store, spa, etc. People should have medical freedom to research and make their own healthcare decisions. It should be a discussion between oneself and one's doctor-patient confidentiality. Furthermore, mandating a vaccine passport violates HIPAA. We as citizens have a right to privacy, especially with our health information. This ordinance will be detrimental to our economy as well. If 30% of the population is unvaccinated, then that means businesses who are still struggling from the government shutdowns and trying to stay afloat will likely lose 30% of their customers, or worse, in some communities, 50% of their customers. Can you imagine? People will lose jobs, businesses will close, unvaccinated people will be forced to order online, which makes big global businesses become stronger and smaller local businesses weaker. Many people have already been exposed to COVID and have built natural immunity with antibodies in their blood, therefore making them a part of the herd immunity. What about them? They are your constituents also. It is unethical to force them to inject their bodies. If the vaccine and mask really works, then people can stay 6 feet away from each other in these retail stores, restaurants, fitness centers, etc. Please stand up and do the right thing to protect Angelino's medical freedom and protect small local businesses. Vote no on this vaccine passport ordinance. At least 2 community impact statements have been submitted. Northridge West Neighborhood Council and Sunland Tehanga Neighborhood Council. I hope you got those. General comment. Last week's council meeting on August 6th, there were several concerned residents from Lincoln Heights explaining about the food trucks and how people are urinating, defecating, spray painting, assaulting, stabbing people in their streets. It was appalling to see Councilwoman.
Thank you, Speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hey, it's Rob Kwan. I'd like to speak on items 19 in general public comment.
Absolutely. You have 1 minute for each, Mr. Kwan. Please begin.
Thank you. And Fabel, I do forgive you or whoever was responsible for cutting me off a minute early yesterday. It's okay. For item number 19 and the vaccination requirements, I just thought it was really funny to see Council President Martinez eagerly gobbling up that earned media for that mayoral run, hopping on MSNBC, even though she spent most of last year refusing to wear a mask in council chambers and really has been silent about LAPD. And when we talk about enforcing something like this, I think it's really unfortunate that, we're not getting our ducks in a row first and forcing LAPD to step up to the plate. For general public comment, please, someone teach Kevin De Leon the difference between an agenda item number and a council file item number. It's really mean for you to let him keep on messing stupid things like that up. You should be a solid colleague and step up there. I also want to speak about yesterday. It was really insulting that you spent about twice as much time dumping on a state bill to ensure open government as you have on the redistricting process over this whole past year. You're all hiding away from your responsibility to ensure a fair and representative process, all because you're afraid of speaking up to Nuri Martinez. Pathetic. And Councilmember Krikorian yesterday suggesting that we can change our open meeting rules via our own council rules. You really think Council President Martinez is going to do that? That's just really disingenuous, man. Come on. And lastly, I know he's not there right now, but I do want to say, fuck Gil Cedillo. Fuck Gil Cedillo. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
My name is Justin, and I'd like to speak on item 19 and the general public comment, please.
Thank you. You have a minute for each. Please begin.
Council, do you hear these people? Why are we even remotely trying to create a parallel economy in this city that's already kind of struggling after this last year with this vaccine mandate that is ludicrous and weirdly cultish, honestly, weirdly cultish. I don't appreciate it. I honestly think that we are going on a very, very dangerous road. We have people talking about segregation because we know a majority of the people are minorities in this community who refuse to get vaccinations because they know history. They know history and they don't forget, right? So going down this road right now is extremely dangerous. I want everybody there to really consider what you're doing because we're going to see a lot of very serious backlash. I'm talking lawsuits. I'm talking everything. Do you want to have that? And we're on the verge. And let me put to the general public comments. I'll move to the general public comment.
Okay.
Are you trying to get Newsom? Booted out of office? Because this is the way you do it. You go down this route right now today, you can guarantee Newsom is out of office because a lot of people, especially people like me who never thought I would do that, will do that. If that's what you want to do, this is the way you're going to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Yeah, my name's Alex, and I'm going to be speaking on general public comment.
Okay, please go ahead. You have a minute.
I love that the pandemic clearly is so crazy that you guys can't hold your required third meeting a week, but it's not so crazy that you can take 3 weeks off for your own vacation. Really hope you enjoyed while people were dying on the street. You got a few more weeks of the FEMA reimbursement that once again is 100% redeemable. We have $10 billion that your city controller said you have at any given time that you can give towards housing people. But no, just so you guys know, you don't have to not be white to uplift white supremacist capitalism. And that's what you do on a daily basis. Because white supremacist capitalism is what's giving you money, especially you landlords. Why house people? Why make LA a better place? Let's put them all in jail, right, with fines they can't afford so that they get more stuck in poverty because in LA, there's such a huge disparity between...
Thank you, Speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
My name is Herman, and I'd like to speak on item 1, 15 through 21. Also, I want to go on item special 22, and may I begin with also? Oh, don't forget general public comment, idiot. May I begin now, idiot?
Please.
Thank you, idiot. In reference to my colleague, Mr. Len Moses, regarding rewards on item 15 and 16, I'm on topic, asshole. Let me speak. LAPD's murderous criminal shooting Mr. 32-year-old French Kenneth in a Costco was just hilarious. You could only put 10 bullets into a retarded 16-year-old man who suffered from a disability? That's criminal. Let's give rewards to all LAPD. Fuck the police. Thank you, sir. And then also, I want to reiterate the levy under HHH to my colleague, Mr. De Leon's recall. You know, 500, 700 building luxury for your bed buddies developers is just a crime, Mr. De Leon. You and Butt Joe Busquianis should know the difference when building luxury condos as opposed to building HHH, bitch, 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 assholes, idiots. Now for my general public comment, because I don't want to waste too much time, idiot, attorney. And this is how it rolls. No rep, echo, echo. No rep, echo, echo. Nuri is a fat cunt. Can you define what a cunt is by acronym?
So,
well, let's find out.
Mr.
Excuse
Herman,
me, sir. Congo, Chongo, don't interrupt me,
Can we
son.
just, we're gonna hold you. Would you please, I know you've got First Amendment rights. We request that you please not use that language.
Okay, Mr. City
Herman.
Attorney, before any other man comes to my rescue, can you go ahead?
Put a mask on. Put a
Mr.
mask
City
on.
Attorney?
Shut up.
Yes.
Shut up. Let me finish my general
No,
public comment, please. Please.
You're being muted and we're moving on to the next speaker. Next speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hello, council members. My name is Nufar Sharon, and I would like to offer a comment for agenda number 19 and general public comment.
Go ahead. You have 1 minute for each.
All right. Where are we? Are we back in 1938 Germany or Europe, or are we in the United States in 2021, the land of the free? I think the members of these council have forgotten the core concepts of the United States, the land of the free. People were appalled and couldn't believe how the atrocities of World War II occurred. How did the world let it occur? After all, the sign on the gates in the concentration camp said, "Work will set you free." However, it didn't. And we all know the end result. It occurred in stages: segregation, demonization, and finally detention. We should learn from history instead of trying to repeat it. This is a virus with 99.98% survival rate. Yet you are attempting to mandate vaccines that have multiple adverse effects that are documented. Instead of encouraging the 0.02 that are at risk, you are forcing the 99% instead. I'm very aware of how detrimental this virus is. My father was hospitalized for 62 days, was intubated, and had a tracheostomy. And yet I still do not believe vaccines need to be mandated. These businesses are barely recovering from the ridiculous more than a year shutdown that was implemented in California. We are a democracy, not a dictatorship, not a totalitarian government. It is a business's choice whether or not to mandate a mask or a vaccine. And if they choose not to implement them, it is their choice and their business. And it is the people's choice whether they want to attend those facilities. Let's remember, based on science, the vaccine does not stop the spread. It does not prevent one from being sick. It only potentially has the benefit of preventing you from being extremely sick. And we don't even know the long-term effects of these vaccines. Yet you are ramming them into people's arms and are not allowing people to voluntarily consent. Segregating and demonizing people does not allow them to voluntarily consent, especially if they are not provided all the information. This bill is coercive. It is coercing people into getting a vaccine, and I think the members need to reread the Nuremberg Code. And if you don't have time, at least read the first Nuremberg Code. It states, the voluntary consent of human subjects is absolutely essential. This means that the person involved should have legal capacity to give consent, should be so.
Thank you, Speaker.
Next speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hello, this is David Neely again. I'm just calling to make a public comment.
Sure, you have a minute. Please begin, Speaker.
Thank you. I was just calling to reiterate my concern that I haven't been able to communicate with my council member, Councilmember DeLeon. I understand that the council is busy. I do still think it's critical for members of the public to be able to access their elected officials. I'm trying to communicate with him regarding issues that affect quality of life within this district. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to work cooperatively. Otherwise, I may have to seek relief in Superior Court if I have to draft a complaint to address my issues, then that's where we'll end up. But I'm hopeful that we'll be able to work cooperatively, and I'm hoping that I'll hear from him. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
This is Patty Glick, and I want to speak on item 19 and give general comments.
Absolutely. Please begin. You have a minute.
Thank you. Last year, we were told to take certain actions in order to stem the spread of this virus: mask wearing, physical distancing, and once it's available, taking the vaccine. Unfortunately, too many people were not being socially responsible, and now we're in the middle of this current surge. All the while, many of that group of selfish people took to social media and would tell those who don't want to catch COVID because of being at high risk or simply just not wanting to end up at an event that if we're, quote, fearful, unquote, we should stay at home. In my opinion, those who won't get the shots because of the misinformation, they've heard about vaccines that have gone through trials and are about to be officially approved by the FDA, well, maybe those fearful people should stay at home. Don't let the anti-vaxxers bully you on this motion. General comment. This is about the resolution introduced last week concerning a proposed increase of the capacity at Lisa Canyon and has been referred to the Rules Committee. The last time there was a resolution about Lisa, it stayed in the same committee for about 17 months. This was shameful as it concerns a hazardous site that is affecting some 1.5 million Angelenos. Can the council make sure that this new resolution comes up for a vote as soon as possible? The County Board of Supervisors have already sent their letter to the CPUC to oppose this increase. City residents' health should matter more than SoCal Gas well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Yeah, hi, it's Daniel Gus. It's amazing how I'm suddenly not being censored after months after threatening to sue you guys. Mr. Fauble, there's no item number 22 on the agenda, and there's only one agenda. So if it's being discussed, you need to have it available to the public. That said, I want to speak on all items in general public comment, but I would like clarification on where item number 22 is posted.
Item 22 is on a special agenda, so we'll go into the special meeting later. Right now, we're dealing with...
Okay, just...
It's posted on the website just like everything else, but yeah, it's a special meeting. That's why you didn't see it.
Okay, well, but don't we need to be able to see it in order to comment?
So when we, very briefly, when we go into the special meeting, there'll be a new comment period for that item if you wish. You can talk about it in your general public comment right now, though, if you want.
No, I'll wait for that. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay.
All items in general, please.
All right,
thank you.
You have 3 minutes, followed by 1.
Good deal, thank you. Council members, item number 17, I would like to see if Mr. Buscaino could explain to the public why he chose humps instead of bumps. Also, on item number 17, please, for God's sakes, it's not done orally, it's done verbally. Orally, I don't think I need to explain oral versus verbal, but oral has to do with using your mouth for a function. Verbal has to do with speaking. It is not oral, it is verbal, and you are ruining your own item there, Mr. Buscaino, by writing orally and not verbally. Please explain why humps and not bumps. Number 19, council members, yesterday I saw a Vok running around the council chambers without a mask on. How can you make rules for us if you don't follow your own rules among yourselves? And why aren't you opening the council meetings now? It's because you're using it to censor the public, limiting time, cutting people off. So you're creating a situation for yourself that you got to open city council, let those of us who are vaxxed prove it. And you got to live by your own rules. And Avak was running around yesterday as other council aides were doing also. Regarding, you guys are such great censors. It's amazing how you stop keeping me out of the meetings minutes after I send a written email to Nuri and Mr. Fauble saying, I'm going to sue you, and I filed a claim, and yet Mr. Fauble won't turn over the call records. Well, if you're not censoring people, why won't you turn over the call records? Because there are agenda items that need clarification.
Are you in general public comment?
No, not yet. It has to do with comments that you're not allowing us to speak on, and I'm explaining that some of us can't comment on things because you have a documented history of withholding records and censoring calls. Now I'll go on to my general public comment.
Okay.
Council members, can somebody please explain why Mr. Koretz suddenly added the word audits to the Personnel and Animal Welfare Committee? It wasn't there before he wanted to announce that he's running for controller. Mr. Koretz did the most cynical thing a politician can do. He added audits to the Personnel and Animal Welfare Committee. Now it's Audits and Animal Welfare Committee, only in conjunction with his running for city controller. He is misusing the names of the city council committee in order to further his time on the public dole and his family's time on the public dole. And Mr. Koretz, please explain, if you want to be city controller, why are we ignoring these dangerous Cane Corso breeding functions in the valley that you were sent? Why'd you go so silent if you're going to be city controller? Why are you adding audits to the committee name suddenly upon announcing your candidacy? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
George Orwell, item 19 in public comments.
You have a minute for each, Mr. Orwell. Please begin.
Thinking, so there are many scientific and medical reasons not to take the vaccines for COVID-19. The inventor of mRNA technology for vaccines, Robert Malone, MD, stated about 2 months ago, even though he took the vaccines for COVID-19, he wished he did not. And he has told the FDA and the public health agencies to stop these vaccines. His FDA contacts are frustrated that the CDC system for tracking injuries and deaths is chaotic and unorganized. As of today, over 11,000 deaths have been reported in the CDC's VAERS, VAERS system for tracking deaths, and CDC hired Harvard a few years ago to review that system. They estimated only 1% of deaths or injuries are reported. Experts are estimating easily over 100,000 people have probably died from these vaccines. My sister almost died. Her doctor's reporting the VAERS system. There's a lawyer named Renz who has a whistleblower from the Health and Human Services who's saying over 44,000 people have died within 3 days after taking the vaccines. I spoke with Dr. Kelly Victory, MD, on KABC Radio, and also Dr. Jeffrey Bark, based in Orange County, and other MDs have said that the death counts are down not from the vaccines, but from herd immunity and better treatment of patients by January of this year, before even 1% of the population had taken the vaccines in the U.S. Also by spring, warmer weather was also bringing deaths down by the time a lot of people had taken the vaccine, even in April. Israel, Australia are currently reporting over 90% of their COVID patients are vaccinated. The UK, over 60% are vaccinated, the COVID patients. Gibraltar and Iceland had big outbreaks of COVID with vaccinated people.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. And I believe that was the last public speaker in our time period.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we're going to go ahead and recess our regular meeting and go into our special. Please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield present.
Bonin.
Bonin present.
Buscaino absent. Cedillo.
Present.
De Leon.
Here.
Harris Dawson. Harris Dawson. Absent. Koretz.
Present.
Krikorian.
Here.
Lee. Absent. Martinez.
Present.
O'Farrell.
Present.
Price.
Here.
Rahman.
Here.
Ridley Thomas.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
12 members present and a quorum, Madam President. Madam President, would Council like the item on today's special agenda to go forth with?
Yeah, without objection, that would be the order. We believe we have to open up public comment for this item as well.
Yes, so item 22 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
But that item is now before us. Madam Clerk? Members, do you wish to call this item special? If not, I'm going to move on to public comment. Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk?
Public comment? Public comment? As indicated on the agenda, members of the public wishing to offer public comment should call 669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-535-8466 and then press pound. Then press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press star 9 to request to speak. When it is your turn to speak, an automated Zoom message will ask you to press star 6 to unmute. Let me repeat, call 669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-535-8466 and then press pound. Then press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press star 9 to request to speak. When it is your turn to speak, an automated Zoom message will ask you to press star 6 to unmute. Thank you.
And as before, after you're prompted with the automated Zoom message, if you don't unmute yourself, you'll get one brief warning from the staff to do so. At that point, if you don't, we'll move on to the next speaker. And there's only one item, and because it's a special meeting, there's no general public comment. So please speak to the one item, and we're ready to take public comment.
Okay, let's go ahead and take the first public comment.
Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Yes, ma'am, Candido Meros. I held for 45 minutes trying to speak on the general meeting, and I was denied that. And here now I'm allowed to speak on this issue, which I really don't want to speak on. But again, I hope I will try again on a different date and hope that the city attorney will give me the same time that he gave Vika, which was close to a minute and a half. But again, I was denied.
Speaker, do you actually want to talk on item 22?
Sir, I just told you denied me that during public comment for the general meeting.
No. Please speak to the substance of item 22, Speaker.
Call back on another date.
Speaker, this is your last warning. Speak to the substance of item 22, or we're going to cut you off.
No, this is your last warning, sir, that you keep.
All right, let's cut off the speaker.
Next speaker.
Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
David Abbott. I need to speak on general comment, but there's no general comment, so I'll call back tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next person then. Thank you.
Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hello, my name is Estella Suarez Hamilton. I'd like to speak on item 20, please.
So, did you say item 20 or 22?
The item that we're allowed to speak on, item 20, right? Is that the one that's correct?
No, it's 22. So if you want to speak on 22, please begin.
Item 22, sure. I'll speak on item 22. Thank you for clarifying. So item 22, I am right now currently on clerk.lacity.org. I do have a quick question before I begin my public comment. Where is this item located on the agenda? Is it under Public Works, Housing Committee, or Council SIP?
It's a council meeting. It's a special council meeting. It's listed on the clerk's website. I pulled the agenda off there myself, so I know it's there.
So right now I'm on clerk.lacity.org. In regards to item 22, I'm on clerk.lacity.org/calendar. Is that where I should look?
Yes, but we really need to move on to the item. So please.
So I'm trying to look for the agenda item 22. Where is that? I see City Council Meeting Watch Live, City Council Meeting SAP. I do not see item 22 on an agenda.
So just for everybody listening,
I'm currently live on the website.
There are two council meeting agendas for today. They're on the clerk's website.
Yeah.
There's the regular one and there's a special one, right?
Where
item
is
20, it's on the clerk's website.
Okay, thank you, Speaker. We're moving on to the next speaker.
Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Angela McArdle, item 22.
Please begin.
I'm sure item 22 is really important, but we're holding a protest at City Hall this Friday at 12 p.m. against
no,
item 19.
Please speak to item 22.
Look for the guillotine.
Okay, let's cut off the speaker. Next speaker.
Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Hi, good morning. My name is Dolores, and it is a little bit confusing with the agenda. I would like to suggest that you put it so where we can see it as the meeting continues, so we can stay on track, because there's very important things that are being heard before you today. So I'll make it brief. For those of you who vote for this mandate 210878, I hope your eyeballs melt out of your head. Have a good day.
So we have exhausted all the speakers. Actually, we do have another person.
Hi, my name is Lori.
Please speak on item 22.
Yes, it is. I have a master's degree in Jewish education, and I've extensively studied the Holocaust. Many Holocaust survivors
So,
have warned
Speaker,
against
you're not on
passports.
item 22. Do you want to speak on item 22?
I do, but I'm on your website, and it doesn't give item 22.
Look, all you have
It
to
goes
do,
21.
I believe there's some vertical ellipses. You can toggle over the special and it appears. It's clearly on there. I pulled it off myself. But if you don't want to speak on item 22, we'll move on to the next person.
But I've been on the phone.
I don't know what to do. So let's go to the next person.
Please state your name and speak on item 22.
Yeah, hi, Daniel Gus. How are you exhausted of callers? I've been sitting here since the clerk announced it's coming in. Stop trying to censure people from participating in the damn meeting, Streffen. I have been on
My
hold
apologies.
since
I didn't realize there were
minutes.
more on there. Please speak to item 22, Mr. Gus.
Okay, I am telling you, I have been coming to the meetings for 22 years. I am on the website. I don't make this mistake. Let me tell you what's on the website. There are 4 agendas posted. City Council,
Can
the
you
general
please
agenda.
speak on item 22, Mr. Gus?
I am looking at your website and it's not posted. I am telling you, I'm going to file a claim if you don't post this. If you try to vote
So
on
just
this
for the last time,
without posting-
we're going to end this, but just so you know, I've had the clerk check it on her cell phone and pull it up right next to me. I know it's on the website. She did it through a public portal and she pulled it up on her phone right now.
Then I have a,
So-
I have a screenshot and I will file a claim.
So
if you
let's move
don't
on to the next
cooperate.
caller.
Please state your name and speak on item 22.
So my name is Natalia Sparrow. I've been trying to speak on item 19 for the longest. I've been waiting on
So,
hold.
no. Your only option is item 22. Would you like to I speak on item 22 in the special meeting?
I will not, but it's really not right that we have to
So
do
now
this,
we're going to have to go on to
over
the next speaker since you don't want to talk on 22.
Please state your name and speak on item 22.
Mrs. Orwell.
Go ahead on item 22.
What I don't understand is why all of us callers have been on hold since the beginning of the meeting.
So do you
and
want
have
to
been
speak on
unable
item
speak on
22?
item 19. Why are
Nope.
you, why are you
So
censoring
let's
people
move on to
from
the next
item-
caller.
Please state your name and speak on item 22.
Thank you, Rob Kwan. I do want to say I did receive a email notification for this special meeting, but I can confirm looking at clerk.lacity.org/calendar, the special meeting does not appear.
Well,
so I just want
don't know
to
what
say for the record.
But do you want to speak on the substance of item 22, Mr. Kwan?
You know, if you want me to, I can.
It's up to you.
Because if we're talking about getting some revenue and levying taxes, maybe Council President Martinez should bring up the vacancy tax that's been sitting dormant for over a year. I'll use my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kwan. We've hit the end.
Okay, that concludes public comment for our special meeting on item 22. Let's go ahead and vote on that item. Open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, let's go ahead and adjourn our special meeting. Let's go back to our regular scheduled council meeting. So let's go ahead and call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Present.
Bonin.
Present.
Buscaino, absent. Cedillo.
Present.
De Leon.
Here.
Harris Dawson.
Present.
Koretz. Krikorian.
Here.
Lee, absent. Martinez. Martinez.
Present.
O'Farrell. Absent. Price.
Here.
Rahman.
Here.
Ridley Thomas.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
12 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Okay, members, let's go ahead and vote on the following items. Item number 1. Items 15 through 18, and item number 20. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and reconsider item 14. Just going to go ahead and open the roll for reconsideration. Close the roll, tabulate the vote. Okay, this item is now
13
before
ayes.
us. This item is now before us. Mr. City Attorney, would you wish to speak on this item? Okay, let's go ahead and vote on it. Open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Let's move on to item 13. This was called special by Mr. De Leon. Mr. De Leon? Item 13.
Thank you very much, Madam President, as well as colleagues. This motion is an important expansion of Senate Bill 1275, a bill that I authored, that Governor Brown signed back in 2014. Senate Bill 1275 set aside tens of millions of dollars from the state's cap and trade program and created a rebate program for electric vehicles for low-income families across the state, resulting in the creation of Blue LA, what we have here in the city of Los Angeles. In fact, I remember when we did a very nice press conference near MacArthur Park in CD1 in Councilmember Gil Cedillo's district, both the mayor and I, when we cut the ribbon, creating the first charging station and the first Blue LA card. The bill also made funding available for charging infrastructure to help grow and develop the EV market in low-income communities. I'm very pleased to see that this program is expanding here in LA. Kudos to our mayor and all the fine staff, as we should be leading the state in charging station expansion in our low-income neighborhoods, many of which live in multi-family apartments and don't have access to charging stations at home. The future is electric. It starts with expansion of charging stations across the city, and I'm very pleased that this motion will expand these efforts both in South LA and East Hollywood, as well as East LA in Boyle Heights. Not to mention that we will more than double the number of charging stations in LA from 200 to 500. In light of this week's United Nations IPCC report issued again by the UN, we need to be accelerating all of our efforts to reduce our GHG, CO2, as well as CO2 equivalent. More needs to be done to meet the enormous challenges before us, but this is an important step that the City Council is moving forward on in the fight to eliminate gas-powered vehicles in California and clearing our air in the process. We have done a considerable amount of work in cleaning up the air of the city of LA, but we are 10 years consecutively the #1 most polluted city in America when it comes to ozone, according to the American Lung Association. That being said, we have more than doubled the number of vehicles on our highways in LA, double the population. So our technologies, our innovative advancements are working, as well as our regulatory bodies. But as we know, much more has to be done, but especially in communities of color, low-income neighborhoods. For those who have the financial wherewithal in those districts, they can dictate if they want access to clean air, if they want, by the virtue of their pocket, living near areas where they can have front yards and backyards are larger than pocket parks in many districts that we represent here today. Therefore, with intentionality, this is important, especially in our low-income neighborhoods. Madam President, thank you very much for the opportunity to share a few words.
Okay, members, let's go ahead and vote on this item. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Let's move on to item 21, call special by Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to thank Councilmember Ridley Thomas for bringing in this motion and to make sure that we did not pull back from providing hygiene stations, hand washing stations, and showers in the city of Los Angeles while this pandemic continues to rage. While we were on recess, a lot of the resources started getting pulled back, and I really appreciate Mr. Ridley Thomas bringing this motion in to make sure that they didn't. The current situation with the portable hand washing stations is far from optimum, but until we're ready to roll out the better system, we can't pull back what is there. Just as we need a right to housing in Los Angeles, we also need a right to hygiene, and that's particularly important in the middle of this pandemic. I also wanted to give a shout out to a journalist, Alexis Livier-Ray, who for LA Taco over the summer covered the fact that so many of the hygiene stations that had been out there that we were paying for had not been maintained and had not been serviced. They did not have water, they did not have soap, and that was disgraceful. So I'm glad that we're moving forward on this. If it is not deemed by the city attorney to be a sufficiently broad amendment to trigger reopening, I would like to add, if it's friendly to the chair, that we ask, as part of everything else in here, sanitation report back on the maintenance of the existing facilities throughout the next few months. City attorney says that's cool, it's friendly? Okay, thank you.
You see no other members on the queue. Let's go ahead and vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, let's move on to item 19. This was an item that was introduced by myself and Mr. O'Farrell, seconded by Ms. Nithya Rahman and Mr. Marquis Harris Dawson. Members, we're now in a year and a half, I want to say, into this pandemic, and LA County finds himself now in a fourth surge, if you're looking at the numbers. But I think the circumstances in front of us are very different. Unlike the 3 other surges that we had in the past, we have now stronger protections available to protect us from stopping the surge in hospitalizations and deaths, and it's called vaccines. We now have 3 vaccines that are effective, that are readily available to the public. A number of us have had vaccine clinics and ongoing vaccination efforts in our districts and throughout the city to ensure that the most vulnerable have the necessary information and get vaccinated as soon as possible. Unfortunately, misinformation is causing people to actually lose their lives and die. Misinformation is precluding people from actually accessing the vaccine and getting themselves or any child available for the vaccine. As a parent, next week our children go back to school. And although my 12-year-old is vaccinated, I cannot be reassured that her classmates are all vaccinated. So the likelihood of the surge continuing to rage in our city, if not in our schools, is going to double, if not triple, if we do not do everything humanly possible to get people vaccinated and get them the right information that they need to make the right decision. Our children are vulnerable, especially those who are not eligible to yet receive the vaccine, yet we see people still hesitant to take the vaccine. Vaccination actually saves lives. and children are being hospitalized, and we're impacting an entire generation of kids, especially with long-term effects that we now know COVID has on some of the most vulnerable in our population. So we need to ensure that we're doing everything possible in the city of Los Angeles to not only protect the most vulnerable, but ensure that businesses are doing everything they can to also to also ensure that the folks going into their businesses are vaccinated and they're not putting anyone else at risk. I want to be very clear about something, and I've heard this either on social media and people who call in that they have a right to not access the vaccine or not get vaccinated. Unfortunately, that argument just doesn't work for me. The fact that you have the right not to get vaccinated actually impacts me, my life, and those of the people that I care about. You not being vaccinated actually impacts the health of everyone else. So that argument that you have the right to not access the vaccine or get vaccinated just doesn't work anymore. I don't know what else to do to tell folks that this is something that we can prevent. This is something that your rights actually impact the rest of us who have done everything possible to not only protect ourselves, for the people that we love. For those of us who've been working nonstop to provide services for our constituents and actually provide information, some of us are exhausted and tired of having to argue with people that insist on reading misinformation on the internet. So members, today we have a motion in front of us. I've actually introduced an amending motion that I've introduced that allows businesses, council offices, stakeholders to provide feedback to the CLA and working with the city attorney. It will be incorporated into the draft ordinance. And I have also introduced instructions that the CLA will be working with the city attorney to also solicit feedback from parents, parent groups, teachers, pediatricians on how best to protect our children moving forward. Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, we've been at various phases of this pandemic for over 18 months at this point. In March of last year, we were faced with tremendous uncertainty. There were questions about the disease, questions about the efficacy of our healthcare system, and on and on. But early this year, when COVID vaccines were rolled out, we could see a light at the end of the tunnel, we thought, and we started to imagine and prepare for a return to normal. And then the virus, the vaccine, and public health recommendations about how we should respond became politicized. And as Madam President mentioned, misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theories created obstacles to getting Americans vaccinated, many of whom continue to express concern over the safety or efficacy of the vaccines or insist that the pandemic is a hoax or political. But COVID-19 cases in Los Angeles have increased well over 20-fold in the last month. And frankly, I'm tired of our politicalization of science and public health. And while people outside this building are protesting that this is a violation of their civil liberties, Angelenos are dying unnecessarily. This should no longer be a conversation of whether we can legally do this. This is a conversation about what we need to do in order to save lives. On the legal side, in June, a U.S. District Court judge in the South District of Texas issued a ruling that upheld the Houston Methodist Hospital's mandate of inoculations for its employees, stating that the mandate was consistent with public policy and rejecting a claim that the vaccines available for use were experimental and dangerous. Since then, several major hospital systems across the country have begun requiring COVID-19 vaccinations. In July, a federal judge upheld Indiana University's vaccine mandate, clearing the way for the school to require students to be inoculated to attend class, stating that the students are not asking to be allowed to make a self-contained choice to risk only their own health in making this decision. This decision necessarily bears on the health of other students, faculty, and staff. The University of California and CSU systems have also issued policies requiring students, staff, and faculty to be fully vaccinated 2 weeks before returning to any physical campus spaces. So we all see, and vaccination isn't only about you, it's about your family and your friends and the person standing next to you who might be at greater risk of getting COVID, experiencing severe symptoms and dying. And that isn't to say that continuing to wear masks isn't incredibly important. In many ways, that may be an even better way to prevent the spread of COVID and easier to enforce. But mask mandates by themselves aren't going to get us out of this pandemic. Becoming fully vaccinated against COVID-19 remains the other key action that people can take to protect themselves, their friends, and their family. The 3 vaccines currently available in the U.S. significantly reduce the risk of infection, illness, and death. And considering the ongoing surge and forecasts showing infection rates peaking in the fall, Los Angeles has a responsibility to protect Angelenos. And if we need to encourage people to get vaccinated by putting restrictions on leisure activity, then so be it. That's what we need to do. Thank you, and I encourage an aye vote.
Mr. O'Farrell?
My mother never learned how to swim. Neither did 2 of her sisters in her particular age group of her family, because her mother was so terrified of her daughters catching polio, which was often evidenced by outbreaks from swimming pools or swimming holes or ponds or lakes back in the day before there was a vaccine. So she never learned to swim and had a lifetime terror of water. When I was in 1st grade, my best friend Ralph had an older sister who had one leg shorter than the other. She wore leg braces as a child because she had polio when she was very, very young, before Jonas Salk invented the polio vaccine and before it became widely available in the late 50s into the early 60s. Everyone alive today during the era of COVID has access to something that my friend Ralph's sister never had access to as a young child, nor my mother and her sisters in her age group back in the 40s and 50s. And that is the ability to become vaccinated and protected from a deadly disease. COVID-19 could be eradicated if we had mass vaccinations across the country and across the world. The United States has a very strong tradition of vaccinations through some of the roughest periods of mass die-offs in our country's history, whether it be smallpox or polio or any other disease that, by the way, through its lifespan has had several mutations, not unlike COVID-19. We're dealing with Delta right now, but what's next? An epsilon or theta or whatever the next alphabet letter is that is more communicable than Delta, perhaps will the current vaccine won't be effective at all. Why on earth would we want to take that chance when we could protect the public better now than later? We need to stop fighting science and start fighting the virus. And that's what we have done on this council. That's what we have done in Los Angeles. We have led the way across the country, protecting renters with the biggest subsidy of any city anywhere in the United States, much less California. With the eviction moratorium, the list goes on and on. The hazard pay for grocery workers, which I was also happy and honored to lead on. We can do this. The public needs it. I have a medical professional friend who told me yesterday that one of her nurses had to intubate a 4-year-old here in Los Angeles County. Over 3 days last week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 11,000 people in Los Angeles County became infected with COVID-19. There were over 30 deaths, including an 11-year-old girl. In 1947, in New York City, there was a smallpox outbreak. Within 1 month, 6,350,000 New Yorkers became vaccinated against smallpox. The entire outbreak was limited to just 12 people with just 2 fatalities. Why on earth is it okay in 2021 to have 30 plus people die in the county of Los Angeles from COVID over a 3-day period, and, including an 11-year-old girl, when we have a vaccine that could have prevented all of that, accessible to everyone? Our workers need to be protected. The general public needs to be protected. And by the way, this is not a vaccine mandate. We're not going to tell anyone that they have to get vaccinated. We're also not going to deny anyone the ability to access essentials, food, medicine, etc., regardless of vaccination. That wouldn't be legal, that wouldn't be moral. But what is immoral is choosing not to get vaccinated, choosing to listen to some delusional rant on Twitter. This is real life. Vaccines work. 99% of the people who have been affected by COVID, either growing ill or hospitalized or dying, are because they are not vaccinated. And that's data, that is science. We have an obligation to do all we can to protect the public. I think it's high time to move this forward. And we can do this. Lastly, I'll say this. In terms of vaccinations and 1 shot versus 2 shots, we know that a study from Pfizer and Moderna back in March of this year, the end of March, published a study that 2 weeks after your first shot of Pfizer and or Moderna, you have up to 80% protection from COVID-19. So we need to bake into this ordinance some form of scientific basis as it relates to first shots as well. Colleagues, I hope we will support this. We absolutely should. It's sensible, it's fair, it's bold, but it is also very, very necessary. Let's give our workers in retail all the protection we possibly can, because not all of them are going to have the choice to protect themselves from someone who comes in to buy groceries or get a prescription who chooses not to be vaccinated. We need to do all we can for the general public and the workers in retail establishments and other establishments. This is the next step in a long line of steps that this council has exhibited leadership on. And colleagues, I ask for an aye vote on this, and let's get the feedback and let's get this ordinance in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Mr. Blumenfield?
Thank you. I rise also in strong support of this measure. Not being vaccinated leads to death. It leads to a prolonged pandemic. It has an impact on others. It is not a personal choice. It is a public health issue. I want to say also, I was offended by a number, at least 2 of the callers compared this to the Holocaust. And I was extremely offended by that. When you ask someone for their papers for the purpose of sending them to a death camp, that is the exact opposite of asking for proof of vaccination so that we can save lives. It is the opposite. So the idea that people are objecting to a vaccine, there's so many things that we ask people to do for safety of others. This is one in a long line of those things. And this is a crisis. All that being said, this needs to be bulletproof because this is Los Angeles. We need to do things right, but we also know that we will be sued. Toward that end, I seconded the motion by their council president, worked with her on that to make sure that we are careful about the locations that we choose, that we get the feedback so that we are not denying people entry into essentials, but that we are making this as strong as we can. And also, I think we need to include, and I put this as feedback for the city attorney, we need to have either an end date that is linked to the science or some way to indicate that this is part of our emergency powers. We are doing this because this is an emergency and it is a crisis. It is not indefinite. Ideally, we would link this to the science, to the infection rate or something to that effect. or we could go with just having it reviewed every X number of days like we do with emergency orders. Those are things I think we need to do so that we're thoughtful and that we are bulletproof, because this will go to a lawsuit. We know that. I think it is entirely, not only defensively, legally, but morally. And so I urge us to vote aye on this measure.
Mr. De Leon?
Thank you very much, Madam President. I also want to recognize all the authors of this measure for your collective leadership on this issue. Colleagues, as well as to the people of Los Angeles, this is a no-brainer. The Delta variant is much more contagious. The Delta variant is much more transmissible. As of yesterday, we have lost 64,328 mothers and fathers, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters. Of that figure, 64,328, slightly under half are from LA County. And I think it's safe to extrapolate from that figure that the majority are from the city of Los Angeles. So we know this is much more dangerous, contagious, transmissible. And I, for one, and I think everyone would agree, is we can't afford another shutdown of this economy because a handful of individuals refuse to get vaccinated because of their civil liberties. I think Madam Chair put it very succinctly and very nicely, and that you put her children, her livelihood, our livelihoods in jeopardy. Your loved ones, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers. Can you imagine, colleagues, if we had one of our own here who refused to get the vaccination because his or her own civil liberties and sits next to us, asymptomatic, infects us without us even knowing the slightest, and we go back home and we infect our own family members, our friends, our neighbors, our children, and the ripple effect that it has, because that is happening today as we speak in real time. And I, for one, and I know Ms. Martinez and Mr. Cedillo, Mr. Price and Mr. O'Farrell and Mr. Ridley Thomas and Mr. Harris Dawson, we represent districts where we've had extremely high infection and mortality rates. I know at the peak of COVID-19, Boyle Heights at one time was ground zero for both infections and mortality rates. Essential workers who were quite frankly treated as expendable workers. Individuals who couldn't get access to the PCR diagnostic examination, or it took so long from the county to figure out how to get the vaccination. But these are men and women workers, the essential workers, who can't afford because a handful of very selfish individuals are refusing to get vaccinated. These are workers who don't live in a 5,000 square foot home and can perhaps do Instacart with Gelston's or Whole Foods. These are workers who don't have Postmates and can send up, some sushi to their homes, or can isolate in a 5,000 square foot home and do their work via Zoom or Google Links. They can't isolate because they're the ones who are riddled with panic and anxiety because they're waiting for their rent relief. And the only thing, an eviction moratorium is the only thing that's standing between them keeping a roof over their head and their family's head and living out on the streets. That is the reality with these men and women. The workers who, quite frankly, are the backbone of the great city of Los Angeles. Can you imagine, colleagues, if we were to do a second shutdown, revenues into the city of LA? How do we pay our bills? Public safety, fire, police, sanitation. We'd need another major major bailout from the federal government. And that's what is in harm's way right now. These individuals who are putting all of us in harm's way. I can tell you this, my constituents, you know, they can't, you know, accept another shutdown. Nor should we have another economic shutdown, again, because of these individuals. That's why I commend the leadership here today by moving forward on this measure, which is so necessary. It is so simple and so easy. Get your vaccination, Moderna, Pfizer, J&J. Do what we need to do. So my constituents that I represent and many of the constituents that you all represent don't have to be wrapped around blocks waiting to pick up a box of food to feed their children, not knowing if they can keep the lights on late at night or their home's cool because they don't have the money in their pocket to pay their bill. That's what's at stake. So again, I just want to reiterate my recognition of the leadership here today who have authored this measure. As we move this forward, we've got to do this very soon with a sense of urgency and immediacy. Thank you.
Ms. Rahman?
Thank you very much, and thank you to you, Council President, and others for taking leadership on this ordinance. I did just want to mention one fact, which I'm very glad to see was included in this motion, which is a report back on expanding a citywide outreach and education program on vaccines, because while the most vocal opponents to getting the vaccine take up a lot of airtime and a lot of space, I think, in our brains and in our thinking on how we respond to this crisis, many of the people who are currently unvaccinated are those who are unable to find time to get vaccinated, who are working multiple jobs, or who are providing care for children or for elderly people and their families and are unable to get to the sites. People who look at the vaccine sites and see that you have to put your name and your insurance card and think that you're not eligible to get vaccinated. People who are afraid to interact with the system for whatever reasons, for reasons of documentation or fear of interactions with the criminal justice system. And for all of these people, our city has to do more to reach out to them and make sure that they are getting the information and the resources and the support that they need to get the vaccinations that we all desperately need in order to get out of this pandemic. So I'm really glad to see that this motion isn't just to explore the ordinance, but also to make sure that we are providing and adding to those resources. So thank you very much.
Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you, Madam President, Mr. O'Farrell, and the others on this motion for really starting to change the dialogue about vaccination right now in a very, very important way. And I want to attach myself to all of the comments of my colleagues about the importance of this. I've really struggled to try to figure out ways to speak about vaccination in a way that will reach those who to date have been so resistant about this. And unfortunately, as some members have mentioned, this has become such, in some respects, a highly politicized issue. You know, when we have the governor of one of our nation's largest states ordering school districts that they cannot have a mask mandate to protect the children of that state, that gives you an idea of the sense of the politicization of all of this. And so let me say it this way in a hopefully in terms that some folks who've politicized this issue will understand. In a few weeks, we'll be marking the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks on this country. And many of us will remember the aftermath of those attacks when we put flags in front of our houses, when many people signed up to serve their country in any capacity that they could find. A previous generation remembers the Pearl Harbor attack on our nation and how everyone in every town, village, city across America found ways to try to serve their fellow Americans, whether joining the military, gathering scrap metal, donating blood, doing whatever they could to help our fellow Americans. So, as of today, more Americans have been killed than in the 9/11 attacks, the Vietnam War, World War II, and World War I combined. And yet we still have people in this country who refuse to take the simple action of going and getting a shot to protect their fellow Americans. You know, we live in a society, and in a society, people have to help other people. And it's just beyond me that this emphasis on personal rights and liberties somehow now trumps, excuse the pun, every obligation of citizenship and obligation of society and concern about protecting the lives of our fellow Americans. So this step that's been put before us is an important step forward in hopefully getting that message across even more forcefully. As we move forward with this, and I expect that we will, and I certainly strongly support moving forward with approving this motion, I think there are some things that I would like to hear brought back to the council when the ordinance comes back with regard to implementation. Mr. Blumenfield raised a few of those issues, and I think, first of all, it's very important that the city work in tandem with the county on this entirely, to ensure that our ordinance comports with whatever the county does, to ensure that county public health is directly engaged in all of our discussions, the drafting of our ordinance, our implementation strategy, because at the end of the day, public health issues are the responsibility of the county. And I think it's important that the county enact an ordinance that's exactly consonant with ours, so that applicability goes across the entire county. Because if a business in Burbank is continuing to operate and my constituents go to that business and then bring their virus back home, that's not helping us when North Hollywood businesses across the border are refusing to accept those people. So it's important that all of the businesses of the county be treated, I think, in the same way, and that's why it's important to have the county involved. So I would ask that the city attorney work closely with county council in preparing ordinances that are exactly consonant. I also think that it's important that we incorporate the input of the business community and how this gets implemented, because passing the ordinance is only the first part of it. Having a strategy for how we actually enforce the ordinance, especially in an environment where vaccination cards can be bought for $25 by people who choose to take the antisocial course of evading vaccination, we need to have an enforcement strategy that's in place, and I think that it's important that we incorporate the input of the business community in that. And I would ask that, Madam President, that we also ask the CLA to reach out to the business community with regard to not only what businesses this would apply to, but how that implementation and enforcement would take place.
Sir, that's part of the amendment too.
Oh, okay, just to be clear that it incorporates not just the types of businesses, but also implementation and enforcement strategy as well. And also that the City Small Business Commission be included in that discussion. And I think those are my only suggestions with regard to the ordinance. But again, we're going to move forward on this, I'm confident. But we're still going to have people out there who are going to find ways to evade their responsibility. And to them, I would just say, this is your duty. This is your duty to your community. This is your duty to your country. This is your duty to those people who cannot get vaccinated because of their own personal health concerns or genuine religious prohibitions. You have the duty to help save their lives. If you don't care about saving your own self and your own health, you have the duty to help save your neighbor's life when we have so many people who may not be able to be vaccinated. So with that, Madam President, I again thank you and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Krikourian. And also, members, there will be a report back on implementation as well. That's going to be attached to the ordinance. Mr. Cedillo?
Can do this. Madam President, colleagues, as of July 19th, unvaccinated people in LA County accounted for 99.8% of COVID deaths. As of July 19th, unvaccinated people in LA County accounted for 99.8% of COVID deaths. Between December 7th and June 7th, 99.6% of the region's coronavirus cases were those who were unvaccinated, and 98.7% of COVID-19 hospitalizations and 99.8% of deaths were among the unvaccinated in LA County. Those are the facts. It's extraordinary that, in light of those facts, that people will still cling to the so-called individual rights, or that they will talk about conspiracies. I'm texting a friend of mine who I care a lot about, who is a fervent anti-vaxxer, and that's what I get. These are the facts, and yet what we get are the other greater problem of CDC's plans, or somebody else's study, or somebody in a garage basement, or some paramedic in San Jose. It's difficult to ask my friend what was the best argument that an anti-vaxxer might listen to. And what I got was this document from the CDC about some greater plans they have for green zones. I noted that they were talking about creating these green zones and getting people to supervise them, and I wasn't sure at first if they were talking about undocumented immigrants and children in cages, but there was no concern for that. I only want to say something real simple, because it's not the first time we've heard these arguments, and Madam President, you're absolutely right. This is a question about community and public health. And so, yes, we all have rights, but these rights are not absolute. Rights are looked at in time, place, and circumstance. Rights are competitive, and in many instances, rights are in conflict. And so today, here as public policy people, we are here to do what is the greater good. And so I can only make reference to public health in this conversation that I've heard in the past. And it's ironic that people say, well, I have this personal right, as they strap up their seatbelts, which was once a personal right. And I remember the anecdote, a friend of mine saying, well, I knew somebody who didn't have their seatbelt on, and they got thrown out of a car, and that saved their life. And I thought, wow, okay, good luck with that. It's why we don't allow people to drink and drive. It's pretty straightforward. Now, I'm sure there are some people who maybe drank and drove, and maybe their intoxication helped save their lives from the accident because they weren't aware of their havoc they created, and maybe that had some role in it. But we still don't let people drink and drive, even if we have an anecdote for it. In the Capitol, people used to come and they would surround the Capitol, everybody on a motorcycle, because they didn't want to wear a helmet, because they had their rights, and this was a walk towards a fascist state. And I understood that. One of my best friends, a cyclist, a motorcyclist, a senator, didn't want to wear the helmets. But it was like, I understand that, but having represented healthcare workers for the county of Los Angeles, I also understand the backup of emergency rooms and the costs when it happens, and when we don't have the emergency rooms for other tragedies that people encounter. And so it's not just your right, but it's also the rights of the community. And it's how we strategize as a community, how the political leadership of our city, state, and nation decide how we should protect and do the greater good. And so I applaud you, Madam President, for bringing this forward. It is our duty, Mr. Krikorian. It is our collective duty to each other. And finally, to Mr. De Leon, I know it's interesting. I had to take a family trip to Mexico, and only in this country do we fight against getting vaccinated. While others covet what we have, covet our choice, wish they had a vaccine, would line up for days for this vaccine. And yet here we are with that opportunity to do that. I know a close family where this family made a choice, a sister and brother-in-law and 3 nephews, not to get vaccinated, and 4 of the 5 got COVID. This goes beyond that. This goes to the real question of us creating community, doing the greater good, and taking advantage of science, of knowledge, of that information, and knowing what's in the greater good. In spite of the anecdotes, in spite of the thoughts of conspiracy, in spite of the inconvenience, I respect people's rights and their concerns, but at the end of the day, Madam President, we have to do what's in the greater good. It's our duty and our obligation. And for that, I thank you, and I also ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. And if we ever want to get back to normal, to what Los Angeles was like pre-COVID, we need to stop the spread in places most high risk. So if individuals want to go to their gym, go to their local bar without a mask, you need to get vaccinated. And if you want to watch a basketball game, a baseball game, go to a concert at a big venue, or even going to a movie theater, you need to get a shot. So for every Angelino who's done their fair share, who stayed home, who got vaccinated, thank you for doing your part. We have to make sure that everyone else does theirs and get vaccinated. So Madam Clerk, with that, please call the roll. Or I should say open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
And this item is as amended. Okay, what's before us now?
Council has motions for posting and referral. Motions will be posted on the City Clerk's website shortly after the meeting for the public's viewing. To subscribe to receive copies of today's council motions to your email, please visit clerk.lacity.org.
Okay, those are posted and referred. Members, are there any announcements? Any adjourning motions? Please rise for adjourning motions. Any adjourning motions to my left?
No customers.
Adjourning motions to my right? Seeing none, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
For the purpose of forced labor or for sexual slavery. And so we have now helped over 2,000 Thais unfortunately, it continues to grow unabated.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Can't thank you enough, and it's an honor to have you here today, to be your friend, to be your ally, to be your colleague.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My second guest today in celebration of Asian American Pacific Islander Month is a CD13 resident, Justin Foronda.
Humbled to be here. Thank you for choosing myself and my restaurant to celebrate this month with you guys.
So here we have an American born here, raised here in the neighborhood that I represent on the City Council, historic Filipino town, an incredible community. People such as yourself reinvesting in the place where you grew up. So what inspired you to open Hi-Fi Kitchen?
I loved how diverse Los Angeles is, and I loved hanging out in the different ethnic enclaves. When you go to these ethnic enclaves, you know you're in Koreatown. You know when you're in Little Tokyo, Little Ethiopia. But when you come to historic Filipino town, it's not the same. And so as an adult, so many years later, I was thinking, this is still that way. Doesn't seem like anyone's doing anything about the visibility of the neighborhood. And that's why I named my restaurant after the neighborhood, Hi-Fi, historic Filipino town, the first two letters of each of the words.